Thank you, Representative Omar, for everything you've said tonight. It's very inspiring, but it has raised a question for me that is deeply troubling. I want to preface it with a little quote. Trump was speaking to Turning Point Action in West Palm Beach, Florida, back in July of 2024. It's a conservative Christian group, and he said, "Christians, get out and vote, just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It will be fixed. It will be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians." He added, "I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good, you're not going to have to vote." Well, you can see where I'm going with this. His disregard for the law and his contempt of court orders and all the systems we live by, is there some action that you and we and everybody need to take to ensure that we will actually be able to vote in 26 and 28 and that our votes will
Yeah, that's very concerning. No, I mean, again, going back to the election, people heard that and still voted for him. That sounds as if, people are not really understanding the danger that they were creating for our country by empowering someone like that. We also just heard 2 days ago Steve Bannon say that he's already endorsed Trump for 2028, and he is trying to find a way for him to do that. And so the question is, we know this danger is looming over us. So the question is, what do we do? What do we do is to make sure first that we are registering to vote and that we are checking to see that we remain on that roster. The second thing that we do is to make sure that we are helping others that are in danger of being taken off rosters to remain on rosters. And then there's also legal funds out there that are fighting throughout the country against voter enfranchisement. He is not going to be able to do anything without our consent. And our consent happens by us thinking that there isn't anything we can do. So every little action that is out there that is possible for us, we must do. Now, those of us in Congress are going to fight to make sure that we are shedding light on dangerous things, that we are taking the lessons that we've learned from those that have given up our first point of leverage and making sure that doesn't happen again. And so this, again, is the fight of our time. And we're gonna be asking ourselves, what did we do? And so we must be able to answer that question. I did everything within my power.
Yeah.
How are you tonight?
Great, excellent.
Great. I'll let you know I'm a little nervous. My heart is kind of beating out of my chest. I wrote what I wanted to say down, but I also want to be able to look at you when I'm speaking, so
You can just say it from the heart.
bear with me. 5 years ago, George Floyd was murdered here in our city. He was not the first, and he unfortunately will not be the last unarmed person to be murdered by the police in our country. During the uprisings in our city and across the country, we loudly declared that silence is complicity. Today, for me, it feels like inaction is complicity. Considering what appears to be a lack of action and the absence of a clear and cohesive strategy amongst the Democrats over the last several weeks, my question is, well, I have a couple. Why should we place our faith in a party that appears idle, uninspired, and painfully weak? Yes, the Democratic Party. Yes, the Democratic Party needs to take a look at itself, but we have been hearing that for years. Being the lesser of two bad choices is not a strategy that builds trust amongst first-time voters or those who My
valid question. I think that I do believe that Democrats are taking a hard look at themselves and what they stand for. But we are only as strong as you are willing to make us. Right? Because we exist as a party, and the party relies on its voters and its base. And so your ideas, your input, your pushback gives us the strength to find the direction in which we lead. And so I don't think people should feel disempowered. And I think we also, as voters, if I can just put on my voter hat, as somebody who lives here as well, I think we have to strategically think about what it means about the lesser of two evils. I don't think about the lesser of two evils. I think about what party can I organize within to get the best outcome for myself and my community, and what party is going to organize itself to harm me and my community. And so to me, it has never been the lesser of two evils. The Republican Party for me has always been the party that is willing to come after me and my family and my community and everything I hold dear, right? And I know that even if I don't agree with the Democratic Party 100%, that under the Democratic Party, I will not be fighting to save Medicaid, right? Under the Democratic Party, I will not be fighting to make sure that people have simple due process. And under the Democratic Party, I know that I will not be questioning whether a president is going to be turning himself into a dictatorship, disregarding the Constitution, and running for another term that he is not legally able to. So to me, it has never been about me. It has been about the bigger picture. And I think we oftentimes, as Democrats, find our little siloed groups, and we attack each other on why we can't be perfect. And that is problematic. The Republicans used to have that problem, and they figured out that once we have power, we can fight about who gets to win. Right? And we haven't figured that out. In 2020 we did, after we went through the 4 years of pain under the Trump administration. We put our heads down and we elected Democrats into majorities. And we were able to push Democrats to implement policies that were helpful in addressing the climate crisis, policies that were helpful in making sure the students weren't continued shackled with student debt. We were helpful in making sure that we take Medicare debt off of credit reporting. All of those things are back on. And so to me, when we think about why doesn't the Democratic Party have a strategy, we as voters also have to have a strategy on what it means for us to have to win to govern so that we can have the wins in policies.
So by coincidence, my question is related to the previous question here. I'd like to ask you about Christian nationalism, and I will make two statements, and I'd just like to have you comment on the statements. Christian nationalism is a threat to democracy and to Christianity, and Christian nationalism is one of the main reasons Trump got elected. And I'd just like to talk to you about that, and maybe if you have some comments about the influence on Christian nationalism that you see in Congress.
Yeah, I mean, I think religious supremacy in essence is a threat to not just our democracy here, but to democracies around the world, and it is a threat to people being able to live with freedoms and liberty, and to think about what it means to live in an inclusive, welcoming societies. And I think it is important for us to not allow people to say that you are against people being Christian. Because we are for everybody practicing whatever it is they want to practice. or not. Right? That is what liberty, what liberty means, and what the appeal for liberty is. That I get to practice my faith, you get to practice your faith, and you get to decide that you don't believe in any faith. That's the beauty. And so when you tie nationalism, right, like a national identity, to a religion, then you get exclusion, you get racism, you get fascist, you get extremist, and it becomes dangerous for everybody to live under it. And so we have to be able to understand what that means and how it can be dangerous for all of us.
Hello. Thank you, Representative Ilhan Omar, for having this town hall meeting and for your representation, voice, and leadership for human rights. I feel grateful to have you represent me. I'm here because when I was growing up and learning about dark chapters in our country's history, like slavery, Jim Crow, apartheid, the internment of the Japanese Americans, I always told myself I would have spoken out and worked against those atrocities. Today, there are human rights abuses against immigrants, women, people of color, the LGBTQ community, federal workers, etc., etc., etc. Our felonious leader is talking about attacking and invading our friends and neighbors, Canada, Panama, Greenland, Gaza. Now is my time to speak out. The actions of this administration are unethical, immoral, vile. I'm trying to call at least one representative a day, write editorial letters in the Star Tribune, rally at the state capitol, go to town hall meetings. If there's anything I can do, Representative, to support you and your ongoing work to protect the human rights of those targeted and scapegoated by this nefarious, cruel, authoritarian administration in power, please let me know.
You're already being a model citizen. I think everything you listed is what I would have recommended. So thank you so much for everything that you were doing. I mean, you should all follow your lead.
Well, hello, Representative. I just want to say thank you. You are a shining example, doing 2 town halls in 1 week, and just want to shout that out.
Thank you.
I want to bring up Representative Al Green's efforts to impeach over the criminal plans to displace 2 million Palestinians who have survived this horrific genocide over the last 3.5. And I just wanted to bring one of their voices into the room. This is my friend. I shared a video of her son with you last February, and unfortunately they're still trapped in Rafah. And she said, "Oh God, when will we leave this spot of death to a safe country? With every second we feel that heaven is closer to us than anything else. From beneath the shells raining down on us, I write to you not knowing if I will ever write again. As the rockets and bombs lit up the sky a little while ago around 2 a.m., we told Amir and Kareem that these were fireworks for Amir's 8th birthday, which was 2 days ago. We smiled through the fear, trying to shield them from a reality no child should ever know. Amir ignores what his ears hear and eyes see and believed us, because children cling to hope even in the darkest of times. If anything happens to us, do not let silence swallow our story. Do not let us become mere numbers in the news. Tell our story, carry our voices. Let the world know that we were here, dreaming, loving, and fighting to survive until our last breath. Do not forget us. Remember us always. Your voice is an extension of our lives." And we've seen now, it looks like the Israeli military was dropping a photo of Trump and Netanyahu this week saying, "The world doesn't care about you. You'll be erased from the map." And to me, that is incitement of genocide using the president, and he's been aligning himself with that. And so I ask how our efforts to support that and what increased pressure to remove this criminal president who is attacking our Constitution and inciting a genocide.
I appreciate that, and thank you for sharing her words with us. We know that Trump came into office promising to be the anti-war president, and we still have war in Ukraine. He started bombing Yemen, and we're seeing him greenlight the starvation and the killing of innocent people in Gaza. And I know that Al Green has promised to lead an effort to impeach him, but he has not produced the articles of impeachment. And as I have said to you, when that happens, you can count on me. You can count on me. Yes.
We need to stand up for Democrats to oppose that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true. They did set the stage